You're not lost because you're weak. You're lost because you've outgrown the version of yourself that was built to survive. There was a time when survival was enough. A time when simply making it through the day felt like progress. When waking up, showing up, and enduring was the only standard you held yourself to. That version of you was forged under pressure. It learned how to tolerate discomfort, how to stay alert in unstable environments, how to adapt when there was no guidance, no roadmap, and no guarantees. It learned how to keep moving even when nothing made sense. And for a long time, that was enough. But survival is not meant to be permanent. Eventually, the very habits that once kept you alive begin to feel restrictive. The routines that once protected you start to feel empty. The goals that once motivated you no longer create any real energy. You're still functioning, still responsible, still doing what needs to be done. But something inside you feels disconnected. You can't explain it clearly. You just know something is off. That's when the noise stops working. The motivational videos that once hit now feel hollow. Advice starts sounding repetitive. Encouragement from others feels distant, almost irritating. You hear people talk, but nothing lands. Because this phase isn't about motivation, it's about truth. And truth doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't hype you up. It doesn't rush you forward. Truth arrives quietly. It arrives in silence. Silence is uncomfortable because it removes distraction. It strips away excuses. It leaves you alone with your thoughts, and more importantly, your patterns. Patterns you've been avoiding, patterns you've been tolerating, patterns that no longer match the future you sense is possible. Most people don't last long here. They rush to fill the silence with entertainment. They stay busy so they don't have to think. They scroll endlessly, consume constantly, and distract themselves into numbness. Because silence forces a question most people aren't ready to answer. Is the life you're living still enough for who you're becoming? That question is dangerous, so people avoid it. They tell themselves they're fine. They convince themselves they just need more motivation. They wait for a sign, a push, or permission to change, but nothing comes. Because this phase isn't about being saved. It's about being honest. Honest about what no longer works. Honest about what feels heavy. Honest about the quiet frustration that's been building beneath the surface for longer than you want to admit. Feeling lost doesn't mean you've failed. It means the old identity is cracking. And cracks are not the end. They're the beginning. You don't rebuild your life when you feel confident. You rebuild it when staying the same becomes unbearable. When pretending drains you. When tolerating your own excuses becomes exhausting. When comfort slowly turns into a cage. This is the moment where most people turn back. They retreat into familiarity. They settle for what they know. They accept less than they're capable of because uncertainty feels more frightening than dissatisfaction. But some people stay. They sit in the silence. They don't rush to label it. They don't panic. They don't numb it. They listen. They notice the restlessness, the frustration, the quiet anger that's been growing beneath the surface. Because beneath the discomfort is clarity. Clarity about what needs to change. Clarity about what's been holding them back. Clarity about the discipline they've been avoiding. This phase feels lonely because it is. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through transformation. Some people only knew the version of you that survived, not the version that's being built now. And that's okay. Because growth requires separation. Separation from old habits, from old thinking, from old patterns that no longer match your future. If you're here right now, truly here, it's because something inside you already knows the truth. The old way isn't enough anymore, and that doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you broken. It doesn't make you weak. It means you're ready. Ready to stop surviving, ready to stop drifting, ready to begin building something stronger, quietly, patiently, and with intention. This is the silence before discipline, and discipline always begins here. There is a reason this phase feels heavier than the ones before it. Before, you were reacting, you were surviving circumstances, you were doing what you had to do to get through. Now, you're being asked to choose, and choice carries weight. When you're no longer distracted by urgency, you're forced to confront intention. You're forced to ask yourself what you actually want your life to stand for. That question doesn't come with easy answers, because choosing growth means choosing responsibility. Responsibility for your habits, for your time, for the direction you're moving in, and responsibility removes excuses. That's why this phase feels uncomfortable. You can't blame circumstances the same way anymore. You can't point to chaos and say that's the reason you're stuck. You can't wait for permission. You begin to realize that the next version of your life depends on decisions you haven't been willing to make yet. This awareness can feel overwhelming, not because you're incapable, but because deep down you know what needs to change. And change demands discipline. Discipline doesn't arrive as motivation. It arrives as a quiet commitment to stop negotiating with yourself, to stop postponing the work, to stop telling yourself, later. This is the moment where internal standards are born, not standards imposed by others, but standards you hold yourself to, even when nobody is watching. This is also where patience begins to matter, because growth doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't reward urgency. It doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to consistency. And consistency requires trust. Trust that the effort you put in today will matter tomorrow. Trust that discipline compounds even when results aren't visible. Trust that the silence you're sitting in now is shaping something stronger. Most people quit here, not because they're weak, but because they expect clarity too soon. They want reassurance. They want confirmation. They want proof before they commit fully. But this phase doesn't offer proof. It offers opportunity. Opportunity to build yourself without applause, to strengthen your mind without recognition, to redefine who you are without announcing it. This is where resilience is forged. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't flinch when progress feels slow, the kind that doesn't need external validation, the kind that keeps showing up even when motivation is gone. If you can stay here, truly stay here, you'll notice something shift. Your thoughts become clearer. Your tolerance for distraction decreases. Your standards rise naturally. You stop chasing intensity. You start valuing discipline. And that's when you realize you were never meant to stay in survival mode forever. This silence wasn't sent to break you. It was sent to prepare you. And when discipline finally takes root, everything else begins to align. There is also grief in this phase. Not the kind people talk about, not the kind that comes with loss you can name, but the quiet grief of letting go of who you used to be. You may not even realize it at first. You just feel heavier, more reflective, more aware of time. You begin to see how long you've been repeating the same cycles, how often you chose comfort over growth, how many chances you gave yourself to change and didn't. This awareness can sting, but it's not meant to shame you. It's meant to sharpen you, because you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. And acknowledgement is the first act of discipline. You start noticing how you spend your days, what drains your energy, what distracts you from your potential. You realize that growth isn't about adding more. It's about removing what no longer serves you, removing habits that keep you small, removing thoughts that keep you stuck, removing patterns that belong to an older version of yourself. This is uncomfortable because it requires restraint. It asks you to say no more often, to walk away sooner, to choose long-term respect over short-term relief. This is where inner strength begins to replace impulse, not through force, but through awareness. And awareness, when practiced daily, becomes control. As this control develops, something subtle happens. You stop reacting so quickly. You stop needing immediate answers. You stop panicking when progress feels slow. You begin to understand that becoming disciplined is not about intensity. It's about patience. Patience with yourself. Patience with the process. Patience with the version of you that is still learning. This patience doesn't make you passive. It makes you steady. And steadiness is powerful. Because when you're steady, setbacks don't derail you. They inform you. You don't quit because a day goes wrong. You don't collapse because motivation fades. You adjust and continue. This is how identity is rebuilt. Not overnight, not through declarations, but through repetition. Quiet repetition. The kind nobody applauds, the kind nobody sees, the kind that compounds slowly and permanently. If you can remain here, grounded, patient, disciplined, you'll notice the silence start to feel different. Less heavy, less threatening, more purposeful. It no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like space. Space to think clearly. Space to act intentionally. Space to become who you've been avoiding becoming. And that's when you realize this silence was never meant to confuse you. It was meant to clear you. And once you understand that, you're ready to move forward. Not out of urgency, but out of intention. Pain is misunderstood. Most people think pain is something to escape, something to avoid, something that means they're failing. But pain is not punishment. Pain is information. Pain shows you where your life is misaligned, where your habits no longer support who you're becoming. Where comfort has replaced intention, pain arrives when something needs to change, and that's why it makes people uncomfortable. Because listening to pain requires responsibility. It forces you to admit that some choices led you here, that some patterns were repeated, that some discipline was postponed. Most people don't want that level of honesty, so they numb the pain instead. They distract themselves. They justify their habits. They explain away discomfort instead of learning from it. But pain doesn't disappear when ignored. It accumulates, and eventually it demands your attention. That's where you are now. Not broken, not behind, but awake. Pain isn't here to stop you. It's here to focus you. This is where isolation begins, not because you want to be alone, but because your awareness starts to separate you from old patterns. You begin to notice how people around you cope, how often they avoid responsibility, how quickly they settle for comfort, and slowly your tolerance for that fades. You don't feel superior, you feel different. Different priorities, different standards, different questions. This creates distance, not always physically, but mentally. You start spending more time alone with your thoughts, not because you're lonely, but because you're becoming selective. Selective with your energy, selective with your time, selective with what you allow to influence you. Isolation isn't a punishment. It's a filter. It removes noise so clarity can form. And clarity is required for discipline. Discipline does not arrive as excitement. It arrives as discomfort, as the realization that no one is coming to save you, that no moment of inspiration will magically fix your life, that progress depends on repetition, not intensity. This realization can feel heavy because it removes illusions. You can no longer blame motivation. You can no longer wait for the perfect moment. You can no longer negotiate with your future self. Discipline begins when excuses end, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. It shows up as structure, as routines, as decisions made without emotional debate. This is where people quit, because discipline feels boring compared to motivation. But boredom is a test, and discipline is what passes it. As discipline begins to take shape, resistance appears. Not from the world, from within. Your mind will question your new standards. Your habits will push back. Your old identity will try to regain control. This is normal. Change threatens familiarity, and familiarity feels safe, even when it's limiting. You'll feel urges to return to old patterns, to relax standards, to tell yourself one day doesn't matter. But discipline is built in these moments, not when it's easy, but when it would be simpler to quit. Each time you hold the line, something shifts. Your self-trust grows, your self-respect deepens, your confidence stabilizes. Not because results are visible yet, but because integrity is forming. Integrity is doing what you said you would do, even when no one is watching, even when there's no reward, even when progress feels invisible. This is the foundation of real confidence. Not words, not promises, not hype. Proof. Proof that you can rely on yourself. Most people never build this. They rely on emotion, on motivation, on external pressure. So when those disappear, so does their progress. But discipline doesn't depend on feeling good. It depends on commitment. Commitment to show up consistently. Commitment to stay patient. Commitment to honor the standard you set. This is how inner power forms, quietly, gradually, permanently. As isolation and discipline deepen, your pace changes. You stop rushing. You stop comparing timelines. You stop needing validation. You begin to understand that speed is not strength. Control is. You move slower, but with purpose. You think more clearly. You react less emotionally. You no longer need to prove anything, because you're building something real. And real growth takes time. This patience frustrates people who don't understand it. But you're no longer building for approval. You're building for stability, for longevity, for a version of yourself that doesn't collapse under pressure. This is maturity. And maturity is powerful. Eventually, pain loses its grip. Not because life becomes easy, but because you've become disciplined. You no longer fear discomfort. You no longer run from resistance. You no longer avoid solitude. You use them. Pain becomes guidance. Isolation becomes clarity. Discipline becomes identity. And once discipline becomes identity, everything changes. You don't force yourself anymore. You move naturally, because this way of living is no longer effort. It's alignment. This is the moment where survival ends and intentional living begins. There is also a shift that happens in how you see effort. Before, effort felt heavy, like something you had to force, like proof that something was wrong. Now, effort feels intentional. You stop asking whether something is worth doing. You ask whether it aligns with who you're becoming. This removes friction. You no longer waste energy debating with yourself. You make decisions once and follow through. This clarity brings calm, not excitement, not intensity. Calm. And calm is dangerous in the best way, because calm allows you to think long-term, to delay gratification without resentment, to trust process instead of chasing outcomes. This is where discipline stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like self-respect. At this stage, isolation no longer feels empty. It feels focused. You begin to enjoy quiet mornings, long stretches of uninterrupted thought, the absence of unnecessary noise. You realize how much energy you used to waste reacting, explaining, defending your choices. Now, you conserve it. You choose where your attention goes. You choose what influences you. You choose who has access to your time. This is power, not dominance, not control over others, control over yourself. And once you have that, discipline is no longer something you practice, it's something you live. Pain brought you here. Isolation refined you. Discipline rebuilt you. And from this point forward, nothing is accidental. There comes a moment when you stop measuring progress by outcomes. You stop asking how far you've come. You stop checking whether it's paying off yet. You stop needing reassurance that this path is working, because something deeper has changed. You trust yourself, not blindly, not arrogantly, quietly. You trust that when discomfort shows up, you won't fold. You trust that when isolation deepens, you won't retreat. You trust that when discipline feels heavy, you'll carry it anyway. That trust is earned. It comes from showing up when it would have been easier not to, from holding standards when no one would have noticed if you didn't, from choosing control over comfort again and again. This is when discipline stops being something you do. It becomes who you are. And once discipline becomes identity, nothing can take it from you, because it was built in silence, forged in isolation, strengthened through pain. And now, you're ready for the next transformation. Every real transformation begins with identity, not with goals, not with motivation, not with a sudden burst of effort. Identity. Because no matter how disciplined you become, you will always return to who you believe you are. For a long time, your identity was built around survival, around reacting, around enduring. That identity kept you alive, but it was never meant to define your future. Now, something deeper is happening. You're no longer asking what you want to do. You're asking who you need to become. And that question changes everything. Because once identity shifts, behavior follows naturally. You don't force discipline, you embody it. This is where standards are formed. Standards are different from rules. Rules are external. They depend on pressure. They disappear when no one is watching. Standards are internal. They define what you tolerate, what you allow, what you walk away from without explanation. Standards shape your environment, your habits, your relationships, and most importantly, they shape how you treat yourself. When your standards rise, your life rises with them. Not instantly, but inevitably. Raising standards feels uncomfortable at first because it creates friction. Friction between who you were and who you're becoming. You start noticing behaviors you once ignored, patterns you once tolerated, excuses you once justified, and suddenly they don't sit right anymore. Not because someone told you they were wrong, but because your awareness has changed. This is the moment where growth becomes unavoidable. You either lower your standards again, or you rise to meet them. And rising requires honesty. Honesty with yourself is difficult because it removes comfort. It forces you to admit that some habits are holding you back, that some relationships were built on the old version of you, that some routines existed only because you were afraid to change them. This isn't about blame. It's about alignment. You begin asking different questions. Does this support who I'm becoming? Does this strengthen me or weaken me? Does this move me forward or keep me stuck? These questions sharpen your decisions, and sharp decisions build power. As your standards rise, your environment shifts. Not immediately, not dramatically, but gradually. You spend less time explaining yourself, less time justifying your choices, less time seeking validation. You stop arguing with people who don't understand your path. You stop trying to be relatable to everyone, not out of arrogance, out of clarity. Because you realize that not everyone needs access to you, and protecting your energy becomes a priority. This is where inner power begins to form. Not loud power, not aggressive power, quiet power, the kind that doesn't need approval, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that remains steady under pressure. You feel it in how you move, how you speak, how you respond or don't respond to chaos. You no longer react emotionally to everything. You choose your responses, and choice is strength. With this inner power comes restraint. You learn that not every opportunity is worth taking. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every impulse needs to be followed. Restraint isn't weakness, it's control. You begin to value peace over drama, progress over approval, consistency over excitement. And slowly your life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. Clarity changes how you see yourself. You stop labeling yourself by past mistakes. You stop defining yourself by old limitations. You stop carrying identities that no longer fit. You begin to see yourself as capable proof that discipline works, proof that patience compounds, proof that identity can be rebuilt. This realization doesn't make you loud, it makes you grounded, and grounded people are difficult to shake. As this identity stabilizes, confidence becomes natural. Not forced, not performative, natural. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. Your actions speak quietly for you. You walk differently. You think differently. You tolerate less nonsense. And that's not because you think you're better, it's because you respect yourself more. This is the foundation of inner power. Identity aligned with standards, standards reinforced by discipline, discipline practiced consistently. Nothing about this is flashy, but it's unbreakable, because it was built slowly, intentionally, without shortcuts. And once identity is set, the next phase becomes inevitable. Control. There is a moment when you realize that discipline has changed the way you see yourself. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way you announce, but in the way you think when no one else is around. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You stop labeling yourself as inconsistent, unlucky, or behind. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That shift is powerful, because once you trust yourself, your decisions become cleaner. You hesitate less. You second-guess less. You no longer need external motivation to act. You move because movement aligns with who you are now. This is where identity stops being something you think about and becomes something you live. Your standards no longer feel forced. They feel natural. You don't argue with yourself about discipline anymore. You expect it, and expectation shapes behavior. This is how inner power stabilizes. As this identity settles, something else happens. You become harder to influence, not stubborn, not closed-minded, grounded. You don't absorb every opinion. You don't chase every opportunity. You don't react to every emotion. You pause. You assess. You choose deliberately. This restraint is misunderstood by people who live reactively, but restraint is strength. It allows you to conserve energy, to stay focused on long-term outcomes, to avoid unnecessary chaos. Your life begins to feel quieter, not empty, but intentional. And in that quiet, you gain leverage. Leverage over your time, leverage over your habits, leverage over your future. This is the real meaning of inner power, not dominance over others, but command over yourself. And once you have that, nothing external can destabilize you. At this stage, you begin to understand something most people never do. Growth is not about adding more pressure. It's about removing internal resistance. You no longer fight yourself the way you used to. You no longer argue with your own standards. You no longer sabotage progress with hesitation. Instead, you move with agreement. Agreement between who you are and what you do. This alignment creates momentum, not fast momentum, not reckless momentum, stable momentum, the kind that doesn't collapse when emotions change. You start to realize that the strongest people are not the loudest. They are the most consistent. They don't explain themselves often. They don't broadcast their plans. They don't chase validation. They build quietly. And quiet building compounds. As this inner stability grows, your perception of struggle changes. Struggle no longer feels personal. It no longer feels like proof that something is wrong. It feels expected. You understand that resistance is part of refinement, that pressure reveals weaknesses so they can be strengthened, that discomfort sharpens awareness. You stop asking why things are hard. You ask how you will respond. That shift alone separates you from most people, because most people react emotionally. They personalize setbacks. They retreat at the first sign of friction. You stay, not because you enjoy difficulty, but because you trust yourself to handle it, and trust is power. Eventually, something settles deep within you. A calm certainty, not excitement, not arrogance. Certainty. You know who you are becoming. You know what you tolerate. You know what you no longer negotiate with. This certainty does not rush. It waits. It understands that mastery takes time. That discipline is layered. That identity is reinforced through repetition. And because of this, you stop forcing outcomes. You focus on process, on consistency, on execution. This is the final shift of Section 3, from seeking strength to embodying it, from trying to change to becoming different. And with that foundation set, you are prepared for the next phase. Control. Consistency is not exciting. It doesn't give you a rush. It doesn't make you feel powerful in the moment. And it rarely comes with immediate results. That's why most people avoid it. They want intensity instead. They want motivation. They want emotional momentum. But intensity fades, emotion changes, and motivation disappears the moment resistance shows up. Consistency stays. Consistency is choosing the same standard every day regardless of how you feel. It's showing up when you're tired, when you're bored, when nothing feels urgent or rewarding. This is where control begins. Not control over circumstances, control over yourself. Because when your actions are no longer dictated by emotion, you become difficult to derail. Most people live reactively. They act based on mood. They move based on comfort. You're learning to act based on principle. And principle creates stability. Stability creates confidence, not the loud kind, the grounded kind, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. As consistency takes root, something shifts internally. You stop negotiating with yourself. You no longer wake up debating whether you'll do the work. You don't wait for the right mood. You don't search for motivation. You've already decided. Decision removes friction, and friction is what exhausts most people. They burn energy thinking instead of executing, questioning instead of committing, hoping instead of acting. Consistency eliminates that. You move because that's what you do now. And slowly, your self-respect grows. Self-respect doesn't come from words. It comes from evidence. Evidence that you follow through, that you honor your commitments, that you keep promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. This changes how you carry yourself. You don't rush, you don't panic, you don't overreact, because you trust your process, and trust is calming. With consistency comes control. Not control over others, not control through force, internal control. You become less impulsive, less reactive, less affected by external noise. You begin to pause before responding, to think before acting, to choose restraint when chaos is available. This restraint is misunderstood. People mistake it for passivity, for indifference, for lack of ambition. But restraint is discipline refined. It's knowing that not every impulse deserves attention. Not every emotion deserves action. Not every opportunity deserves your time. You begin to value simplicity. Fewer commitments, cleaner routines, clearer priorities. This simplicity creates momentum because energy is no longer scattered, it's focused, and focused energy compounds. This is how pressure stops overwhelming you, because your system can handle it. Eventually, consistency becomes identity. You don't think of yourself as someone who tries anymore. You see yourself as someone who operates with standards. That identity protects you. It keeps you from slipping back into old patterns. It keeps you grounded when success appears. It keeps you disciplined when progress slows. This is real self-respect, not ego, not pride. Self-respect built through repetition, through doing the work quietly, through staying patient when no one is watching, through choosing control over chaos again and again. And when self-respect is established, nothing external can shake you easily, because your foundation is internal. This is the phase where life stops feeling unstable, not because problems disappear, but because you're no longer fragile. You're consistent, you're controlled, you're grounded. There is a moment when you realize that consistency has changed how you experience time. Days no longer feel chaotic. Weeks no longer disappear without meaning. Your actions begin to stack instead of scatter. This is not luck. It's structure. Structure removes uncertainty. Uncertainty drains energy. And energy, once conserved, becomes power. You begin to see how most people exhaust themselves emotionally. They overreact. They overcommit. They over-explain. You don't. You choose carefully. You move deliberately. You protect your rhythm. This doesn't make you rigid. It makes you resilient. Because when pressure arrives, and it always does, you're not scrambling. You already know what to do. You fall back on routine, on discipline, on habits that were built when things were calm. That's the secret most people miss. You don't build strength during chaos. You rely on strength that was built before it. And that strength comes from consistency practiced daily. As this level of control deepens, something else shifts. Your confidence becomes quiet. You don't feel the need to speak first. You don't rush to prove yourself. You don't react defensively. You know your direction, and direction creates calm. This calm unsettles people who live reactively. They mistake it for distance, for detachment, for coldness, but it's none of those things. It's composure. Composure is the result of discipline, repeated long enough to become instinct. You no longer depend on motivation to function. You don't rely on emotion to guide your decisions. You rely on standards. Standards you've proven to yourself. Standards you've lived by. Standards that don't collapse under pressure. This is self-respect at its highest level. Not confidence built on outcomes, but confidence built on character. And once you reach this point, you're no longer trying to control life. You're controlling yourself within it. That is real power. At some point, the struggle changes. Not because life becomes easy, not because problems disappear, but because you do. You stop feeling like you're fighting yourself every day. You stop waking up confused about who you need to be. You stop questioning whether discipline is worth it. You already know. Discipline is no longer something you practice. It's something you live. And when discipline becomes identity, life begins to feel quieter. Not empty, not dull. Clear. Clear about what matters. Clear about what doesn't. Clear about where your energy belongs. This clarity is rare, and it's earned. You begin to see how most people live. Always reacting, always chasing, always searching for something outside themselves. You're no longer doing that. You've learned that control isn't about dominance, it's about direction. It's about choosing your habits carefully, choosing your thoughts deliberately, choosing patience over impulse. This is where peace starts to replace urgency. Not because you've made it, but because you're no longer scattered. You're aligned. And alignment creates confidence that doesn't fade. This is where legacy quietly enters the picture. Not legacy in the sense of recognition, not fame, not applause, but impact. The kind of impact that shows up in how you move through the world, how you treat people, how you carry responsibility. You realize that discipline doesn't just change your life, it changes what you pass on. Your habits become examples, your standards become influence, your consistency becomes proof. And whether you realize it or not, someone is watching. At this stage, you no longer rush time. You understand that mastery is slow, that growth is layered, that strength compounds quietly. You don't demand results anymore. You trust process. You trust repetition. You trust patience. You trust that doing the right thing long enough always pays off. This is where stress loses its grip, because you're no longer trying to force outcomes. You're building a system, and systems outlast emotion. You also stop needing validation. You don't measure yourself against others. You don't compare timelines. You don't chase approval. You measure yourself against who you were. And you can feel the difference in how you think, in how you react, in how you handle pressure. This isn't perfection. It's progress. And progress, when sustained, becomes identity. This is not the end of your journey, it's simply a point of awareness. A moment where you realize that becoming disciplined was never about becoming rigid. It was about becoming reliable. Reliable to yourself. Reliable under pressure. Reliable when life tests you again, because it will. And when that next challenge arrives, you won't panic. You'll return to what you've built, the habits, the standards, the discipline, and you'll continue forward, quietly, intentionally, without needing permission. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you stop rushing your life. You no longer feel behind. You no longer feel pressured to catch up. You no longer measure your worth by speed. You understand that real progress is slow by design. Anything built too fast collapses under pressure. Anything built without discipline breaks under stress. So you move deliberately now. You choose quality over urgency. You choose depth over attention. You choose stability over excitement. This choice doesn't make life louder. It makes it solid. You also begin to respect time differently. Not just your own, but the time it takes to become something meaningful. You stop expecting instant results. You stop demanding quick validation. You stop getting discouraged by quiet seasons, because you understand something most people never do. Silence is productive. Silence is where clarity forms, where habits strengthen, where discipline settles into identity. And identity, once set, doesn't break easily. At this stage, you no longer chase change, you maintain it. You focus on protecting what you've built, your routines, your mindset, your standards. You understand that success isn't fragile, neglect is. So you remain attentive, not obsessive, not anxious, intentional. You keep doing the small things right, even when no one is watching, even when nothing dramatic is happening. This is how momentum stays alive. You may notice that your life feels quieter now. Fewer extremes, less chaos, less emotional turbulence. That doesn't mean you've lost intensity. It means you've gained control. Control over reaction, control over impulse, control over direction. And control creates peace, not the kind that makes you passive, the kind that makes you steady. Steady people last. From here, there is no finish line you need to rush toward, only continuation. Continuation of discipline, continuation of patience, continuation of standards. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You only need to remain consistent. And as long as you do that, the path stays clear. You move forward, not because you're chasing something, but because this is who you are now. There is a moment, usually unnoticed, when effort stops feeling heavy. Not because the work disappeared, but because resistance did. You still show up, you still commit, you still hold your standards, but it no longer feels like you're dragging yourself forward. It feels natural. This is what happens when discipline becomes identity. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You don't wait to feel inspired. You don't negotiate with yourself. You move, because movement is who you are now, and that changes everything. Your days feel steadier. Your thoughts feel clearer. Your reactions feel slower, more intentional. You don't rush to fix everything at once. You don't panic when something goes wrong. You trust your ability to adjust. That trust wasn't given to you. It was earned. Earned through repetition, through consistency, through choosing discipline when comfort was available. This is the version of strength most people never reach. Not loud, not dramatic, stable. And stability is rare, because it requires patience in a world addicted to speed, restraint in a world addicted to impulse, silence in a world addicted to noise. You chose differently, and because of that, your life feels different. Not perfect, but grounded. Not effortless, but aligned. At this point, you no longer ask whether you're capable. You know you are. Not because you believe it, but because you've proven it to yourself. You've shown up when it was inconvenient. You've stayed consistent when no one was watching. You've continued even when progress felt invisible. That proof changes how you see challenges. They no longer feel like threats. They feel like signals. signals that something new is required. That growth is calling again, that another layer is ready to be built. And instead of resisting that call, you meet it calmly. You don't rush forward, you don't freeze, you prepare. Preparation is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need recognition. It happens in your habits, in your routines, in the way you think before you act. This is where long-term success is formed, not through intensity, but through endurance. Endurance guided by intention. You stop chasing transformation, you maintain it, day after day, choice after choice, and that consistency becomes your advantage. Because while others burn out, you remain. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more motivational videos.